Welcome back to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK, and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a pair of soles. Now this video is for the adult sizes, size 3 to 4 for UK sizing, US size 5 to 6, European sizes 35 to 37. This is going to be suitable for a foot length of up to 8.5 inches. Depending on what type of sole you are making or what project you're crocheting, you might want to pick a nice squishy yarn to make your soles in. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make them using this PaintBox Yarns Simply Chunky. Now this is a size 5 or a bulky weight yarn, and I'm going to be using something that's 100% acrylic. That means that it's really easy care because I can just throw it in the washing machine. Oh, I need that. Because I'll be able to throw it into the washing machine and I could even tumble dry it if need be. Obviously I won't, but I could if I needed to. The recommended hook size for this yarn is a 6mm, and that is the size that we're going to be using in this video. If you're looking to make your soles for a pair of sandals or something like that, ideally you need to find a twine that has a similar thickness or the same number of plies as a chunky weight yarn. Now it's quite hard to see the plies on this. You can see there's, I think, 4 twists of twine. Let me check. Oh no, this has only got 3 twists of twine. It works up really well to create a pair of soles for some sandals. Again, I'd recommend using a 6mm crochet hook and just following the pattern as normal, and it will finish at the same size as if you were using an acrylic yarn, but it'll be a lot firmer on the base. If you're making these to wear outside, then obviously a twine base is going to be great. If you're looking to crochet a pair of soles in a different size, head on over to the link in the description box where you'll find the playlist for all the different size soles that are available. Regardless of which size soles that you're making, I'm going to recommend that you make 2 pairs for each foot, and we're going to sandwich them together. And this is where this twine can really come into its own, especially if you're making a pair of sandals, because you can make a pair in the twine and a pair in your acrylic yarn, and that's going to give you a nice cushioned sole without having to have the roughness of the twine against the foot. As I said, I'm going to be working using some acrylic yarn today, and I'm using the colour Dusky Lilac, which is shade number 346 in the PaintBox Yarns Simply Chunky. You're going to need a 6mm crochet hook, so gather all of those materials and we're going to get started. Now if you're looking to make a pair of my slouchy slipper boots, I am going to recommend that you make 4 soles in total, so you're going to need to repeat this 4 times. So make sure that you have selected the right video for the right shoe size that you're making. So this is for UK adult sizes 3 to 4, US adults 5 to 6, and European adult sizes 35 to 37. So we're going to start by making a slip knot and placing that onto our hook. We're then going to make a chain of 17. So we just yarn over the hook, bring our hook through the loop on our hook to create our chain, and we do that 17 times. That's 2, 3, 4, and 17. We're going to start by working 2 single crochets into the second chain from hook. So remembering that this loop on our hook does not count, here is our first chain, and we're going underneath the top loop of our second chain. So I'm just going to insert my hook underneath that top loop, yarn over and bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2 to complete my US single crochet, which is the same as a UK double crochet. We're then going to work a second single crochet into that same space or the same chain. So we insert the hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. So we should now have 2 single crochets into that second chain from hook. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 8 chains. So we ignore this space here and we're going under the next top loop of the next chain for number 1. And number 2, just going under that top loop each time. 3 and 8. We should now have 10 single crochets, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So from here we're going to work 1 US half double crochet into the next 5 chains. So we yarn over the hook, insert our hook underneath that top loop, yarn over to bring a loop up. We should have 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that was number 1. We're going to repeat that again by yarning over, insert the hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That was number 2. We're then going to work 2 half double crochets into the next chain. So we yarn over and insert, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through all 3, and we go back into that same chain again, working a second half double crochet. Then into this last one where our slip knot is, we're going to work 4 half double crochets into that last chain. So we yarn over the hook and insert, bring our loop up, pull through all 3, so that's 1, 2, and you'll see that you kind of automatically start to rotate your work here for number 3. And then number 4, I'm going to make sure that I'm working over my end here to kind of minimize the size of this hole at the end of our chain. And there's number 4. We're then going to work along the other side of our chain. So you can see that there's like a hole opposite the stitches that we worked on the previous section. Here's our tail getting in the way as always. And you'll see there's like a cross where the other side of your chain is. We want to make sure we're aiming our hook underneath that cross. I'm also going to place my tail along here so that I work over that and weave that in as I go. So we're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next chain. So we yarn over the hook and insert, yarn over and pull through all 3, and we're working a second half double crochet into that same chain and pull through all 3. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into the next 5 chains. So we yarn over, and again I'm making sure that I work over my chain. You can see, I'll move that end out of the way for a moment, you can see where that kind of crosses between those 2 strands, and we're aiming opposite that the stitch on the other side. So that's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 8 chains. So again, we're making sure we work underneath that cross and just inserting our hook, bringing our loop up and pulling through 2. So that was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then into this final chain we're going to work 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. We're then going to slip stitch to that first single crochet that we made by inserting our hook through both loops, pull through and straight through the loop on your hook. So at the end of round 1, you should have a total stitch count of 38 stitches. There'll be 20 single crochets and 18 half double crochets. Going into round 2, we start with a chain of 1. Now this chain 1 does not count as a stitch here and throughout the pattern. We're going to start by working 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches. So we're just inserting our hook, bringing our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're reinserting our hook into the same stitch again, so right underneath where that is, to work a second single crochet, and then we're doing another 2 single crochets into the next, so that's 1 and 2. We then work 1 single crochet into each of the next 11 stitches, so that's 1, 2, 3 and 11. Oops, there we go, number 11. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So we yarn over and insert before bringing our loop up and pulling through all 3. That was number 1, 2, 3, and number 4. And then we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 4 stitches. So we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 4. So we yarn over and insert. So that's 1 and 2, working back into that same stitch, and do another 2 in the next stitch. So that's 1 and right back into the same stitch again for number 2. So that was twice we've done that. Same again, so 2 into the next stitch, 1 and 2, and again. So for the 4th time, we work 2 half double crochets into the next. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4. So we yarn over and work 1, 2, 3 and 4. We then work 1 single crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 10 and 11. And we have 2 stitches remaining, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So we're working, that's 1 and a second one into the same stitch, and then into the final one we work another 2 single crochets. So at the end of round 2 you should now have a total stitch count of 46, which will be 30 single crochets and 16 half double crochets. You can start to see that the sole shape is coming out already, so it's starting to go a little bit wider at the toe here. Ignoring your slip stitch and your chain 1, we're then going to slip stitch to, so ignoring your slip stitch, your chain 1, we're going to join to the top of that first single crochet that we made to complete round 2. Going into round 3, we chain 1 and we're going to work 2 single crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So that's 1 and 2, and again 1, reinserting to work number 2, and for a 3rd time 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. That's 1 and 2 and 11. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So we yarn over for the half double crochet, bring our loop up and pull through all 3. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're then going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So we yarn over and insert, pull through 3, so that's number 1 and number 2 all in the same stitch, and we repeat that into the next stitch as well. So 1 and 2. We then work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So we're just working 1 stitch into each of the next 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. We then work 2 half double crochets into the next 2 stitches. So we yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, pull through 3, and we're working another half double crochet into the same stitch, and we repeat that again. So we're working 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and 2. We then work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 5 and 6, before working 1 single crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. So that's 1, 2. Finally, in our last stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets. So that's 1 and 2. So we ignore the slip stitch and the chain 1 before joining in that top of that first single crochet that we made of the round. So at the end of round 3, you should now have a stitch count in total of 54 stitches. That's going to be made up of 30 single crochets and 24 half double crochets. You can really start to see that sole shape taking place. Now, as you can see, this is my tension issue when it comes to this pattern. It looks like I've done an extra stitch here, and I haven't, because you've been watching me count. It's just where I need to stretch out the other side. My tension kind of makes my sole dip in, but it's not real. And it doesn't, you can see that it's pretty much flat there already. But if I was to pull the stitches out properly, it gives you the proper shape of that sole. So if yours is leaning ever so slightly like mine, don't be concerned, it's just tension, and you can block them if you want to, but when they're on the feet, you won't feel like you're wearing the your shoe on the wrong foot. Don't worry, just find your center line, make it nice and straight, and it looks perfect. So for round 4, this is where we're going to be working our final round and adding the width to our sole. So we start by making a chain of 1, and we're going to be working half double crochets all the way around this time to really give us some extra width on our sole. We're going to be working 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So we yarn over and working into that same stitch as where we joined in that chain 1. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. Then we yarn over and insert, so that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. We do the same in the next again, so 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 20 stitches. So keep a check on your stitch count, make sure that you're only working 20 of them. So there's number 1 and 2, and I'll meet you at number 20. So after you've reached the end of your 20 stitches, double check your stitch count at this point. You should have 28 half double crochets. So we're going to start by working 2 half double crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So that was 1 increase, so 1 and 2, so 2 stitches into each 3 times. That's number 3 for me. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 3. So that's 1, oh, and in that same one, Fiona, 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. So once you've worked those increased stitches, we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 18 stitches. So work those next 18 and I'll meet you for our last stitch. 1, 2, 3. So I've done my final 18 half double crochets and I've got 1 stitch remaining. And into this final stitch, we're going to be working 2 half double crochets to match the increase on the other side. Once again, we're going to slip stitch to the top of that first single crochet that we made to join, and we are ready to fasten off. So I'm going to make a little chain 1. I'm going to leave a tail to weave in. And just bring that through. Now before I go any further, I'm going to grab a stitch marker and just mark where that join is. And there is a method, there is a reason behind this, or a method to my madness, because when we come to join the two soles, magic obviously, we're going to be placing them wrong side together, and the best way to match them up, sorry I've woven those tails in, is to place 4 stitches between the stitch markers ready for joining. So if you're carrying on to complete the slouchy slipper boots, when that video is available, I will pop a link here for you. Remember that you're going to need a total of 4 soles made before proceeding on to making the top of your slipper. If you're using this pattern for any other pattern, you can proceed onto that pattern now. So thank you so much for joining me. If you want to make any other sizes of these slipper soles, don't forget to head on over to the playlist that's linked below in the description box. And thank you so much for joining me once again.